Hi.
Hi, oh,
Hi.
it worked.
Yeah, finally.
Finally, it worked. I'm just going to adjust my distance. So
Cool.
just give me a moment. I don't want to be
Sure.
too close. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Good, good. So we learned something new today.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, cool. So let's get started. Firstly, sorry to everyone who tried to kind of wait, but it's starting now. So today we want to talk about wellness in the workplace. So I am Kritika. I am I wouldn't say an influencer. I'm into wellness and fashion. I'm into content creation. You can see a digital creator. I'm joined by Sabahat from Ashmir by Sabahat Ahmad to talk about how to do well at work. I know it's like a struggle for everybody, especially in COVID times where the lines between work and home are kind of blurring. So yeah, so I guess over to you, to give us your yeah.
Thank you so much, Kritika. It's a pleasure to be here. I think this is our second talk. We're still working on uploading our first one. So this is second in the series or the wellness series that we've kind of put together. And this is all about wellness in the workplace, which is really critical at these times because since last year, since COVID, we have all been adjusting to the new normal. So work-life balance was a struggle as it was, especially for women and in some cases men also. But it has become more and more difficult with all of us adjusting to the new normal routine. So yes, it is a very, very important topic, something that I hope that we'll be able to contribute to today. And just to introduce myself, I am Sabahat Ahmed. I'm based in Dubai. I am a transformation coach and a master practitioner of NLP, hypnotherapy, and life coaching. I'm also a master practitioner of Reiki, NNRT, which is bilateral eye movement, and also I also do family constellations. I'm still very early in that, but that's also part and parcel of a service offering. We work in three areas, which is emotional health, self-development, and weight management. And that is through removing emotional blocks so people can then achieve their work, health, life goals. So that's what Ashmir by Sabahat Ahmed does. So please do follow our page and so on. But in terms of what we are working on today, or are we going to talk about today? So Kritika, where should we start?
So yeah, today we're going to talk about wellness in the workplace, and let's begin with work-life balance. I know it's something that we all struggle with, and
Yeah.
the boundaries between work and life are pretty much thin. Yeah. So all right. So what? How do you think we can
So
achieve wellness or balance?
well, it has always been a struggle, like you said, other than especially for women, where they not only struggle between work and life, but they also have to look after kids. They also have to, make sure that the housework is done, the house is in order, and there is a lot for us to manage. I think I was telling you earlier that on my Skype I had a profile status which said, "I wish I was an octopus," because at one moment in time in life I really felt like I needed those 8 or 10 or however many tentacles an octopus has to be able to manage everything. It's multitasking. And it is not an easy thing to do. There's so much conversation, so many things online and on Forbes and so on that we see about work-life balance. But it's about being kind to ourselves. We should know our boundaries. And the more we know our boundaries, we can set our limits. What does work-life balance mean to you versus what it means for me, right? But working from home has changed the way we see our home environment versus our corporate environment versus our responsibilities. So it's important to understand where do we stand with each one of those and then put ourselves first. If we are in the right state of mind, right emotional health, physical health, then it will be easier to manage that work-life balance. That's what I think. I don't know if you have another perspective on that, and or everybody who's viewing has a different perspective on that. But for me, it is important to understand what do I need to do to be able to maintain that work and life balance. I do a to-do list, which is in some cases we talk about, but we don't really do. We
Yeah.
want to have everything on Outlook, but I'm a very paper pencil person. So for me,
Mhm. Hello, did I lose you? Yeah.
in between. So for me, it is important to print something and write it down a night before. So if I plan that, what am I going to wake up, what time I'm going to wake up, who I need to serve breakfast for? It's easier for me to say because my kids have grown up, they have their own life, so I don't have to look after the younger kids. But where kids are home learning, you have to make breakfast for everybody. You have to get yourself into a work mode if you're working from home, or you have to leave and then commute to get to work. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of energy out of you. So by the time you start work, you're actually out of energy, and then you're drinking coffee after coffee, or trying to keep your energy levels high so you can manage that stress. So if you plan, you know what's coming and you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes perfection. That's what I think creates a balance.
Yeah, I think I think that that's a good way to answer it, because also I would say you shouldn't like over plan as well. I think that's also something some people struggle with. Like a lot of my friends advise me to plan and write everything down, but it never works for me. Like for me, I just pick like 5 things in my head that are a priority, and maybe I write it on my phone. That's kind of it. If I overwrite or overdo things, then I end up doing nothing. So I guess you need to know what works for you.
Yeah, having things in your head will always magnify. That magnitude will increase when you're just thinking about something. So okay, I have to do 5 things tomorrow, but suddenly you remember you have to do the 6th thing, and you know that it is not as important, and you can probably do it next week. But because it's in your head, it will start. You get caught up in that, and it becomes part of those 5 things, and it starts increasing. And if you still have those 5 things hanging on the next day, you're going to start getting stressed. I still have work to do. I still have work to do. So it doesn't matter whether you write on the phone or you put it on your Outlook or you put it on a paper, but it still needs to be planned. And then if you know your limits, you can plan time according to that. Even if you don't get it done, it's okay. At least you know what you need to do.
And you tried, I guess. Yeah. So I guess in summary, as long as you know what you need to do, you kind of plan for it, allot your time accordingly. And also learning to kind of switch off. So when I say learning to switch off, I know a lot of people have issues with really disconnecting from work, even because, you're just at home. It's some people may not have the luxury of space. So for them, it's just pretty much the same room or something. So how do you really differentiate your work day from your evening, just maybe eating dinner, watching a movie? Like, how do you make it feel like it's different? And like,
I hope I'm the right person to answer that question because I'm guilty of mixing too many things. Technically I'm working 2 jobs, so I'm also an HR consultant, so I have a day job. So from 8:30 to 5:30, I'm on my day job, and then the evenings and the weekends are for coaching, which is my own venture. So I have struggled to balance, and I have this passion that if I start something, I will just continue doing that, regardless of how, if I need late nights or whatever. But I learned one thing from one of the, I've been fortunate to have good managers that tell me to switch off when I need to switch off. So the moment even in the UK or even here, sometimes the lines get a bit blurred. But if you know that you're working smart, and in the 8-9 hours you're at work, you know that this is the amount of work you can get done in a day, then 5:30, maximum 5:35, I would say. I'm not saying just on the dot, but 5-10 minutes plus minus, you switch off. And you know that this is your time. This is your family time. This is your personal time. You use that time. You know that you have to take a nap, a power nap perhaps, or go out for a walk, or even taking regular breaks during the day. Most of us are getting used to the Fitbit now. And the Fitbit gives you regular notifications every hour to say move around. I ignore it sometimes, because I'm just so deeply engrossed in my work. I don't want to take that time off. But if you don't ignore it and you listen to it and you just get up, get a glass of water, get a cup of tea, just walk around your home. If you have a garden, just go out in the garden, do some breathing. It helps you to come back with greater energy, greater focus to do that. Be kind to yourself. You need to know your limits. You need to know your boundaries. So working smart, working efficiently, and then switching off when the work time is over, right? It's about ethical practice as well. So if you have spent those 8-9 hours that you were supposed to spend on at work, which you would do if you were traveling to work, versus if you're working from home, there's nothing different. You still have to maintain the same time and define your own boundaries if everybody else is blurring it.
Yeah, I guess to be disciplined. I guess it's very easy to be like, oh, I'll work on this one last thing. But I guess you just have to really be disciplined and stick to what you need to do and kind of, switch off when you need to. Yeah.
You need
I can understand how it's a problem for a lot of people. Also, I know a lot of people end up slacking. So they'd be like, oh, I'm at home all day. I can do it at any point I want. But what ends up happening is that then they end up working late in the evenings, possibly because they kind of did not start when they were supposed to. So there's this
one good way of doing that, which I'm just saying from experience, I'm in my yoga pants most of the day, right? So even if I'm working, I have my casual yoga pants, and my sister hates it. But, one good way of doing that is that even if you're working from home, you wake up, you do whatever you used to do when you were traveling for work, and you get dressed. Put a bit of makeup on and be dressed, and then sit down to work. That gives you the feel of that work environment. And when you need to switch off, then you actually change into your home clothes. So that differentiates. So the little things that you can do that can help you switch off, just understand how you operate and then do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a great way. That's something I do. Like even if I'm working from home, I will make it a point to get dressed and change my clothes, put on my jewelry, because I think it makes me feel nice. So yeah.
On you, I think I need to learn something from you on this. My sister hates me for wearing yoga pants all the time. Like, she's like, can't you just change into something else? So yeah, I will.
Yeah, so maybe you should do that. You see, you feel different. You feel like you've changed your day, and like, there's a little bit of difference in when you're going to bed, you wear something else. So,
absolutely,
anyway.
absolutely. Okay, so
I want to know, like, how do you avoid a burnout? Like, it happens to a lot of people, and because there's so much work at the moment, people have maybe been laid off, and some employees are expected to do more than normal, and they probably feel hesitant to say no because they feel their jobs may be at risk. So how do you avoid a burnout and kind of still manage to keep your job?
This is it's a very, very important question, and I'm sure that people at the moment are very insecure. I wouldn't say everybody, but most of us are insecure about our jobs. Last year has been a very difficult year. Dubai has been going through this economic turmoil in the last few years. But last year we saw a lot of redundancy. We saw reduced hours. We were all part of it, right? I had reduced hours. I had unpaid leaves and paid leaves and reduced salaries and so on. Everybody, I think, was affected by that. So that does create a sense of insecurity and fear that if I say no, maybe this is a test for me. If I say no, I'm going to be laid off. So those insecurities are there. Overcoming your own fears is entirely up to you, right? I took it as, you take it as probably, and this is just an advice. Of course, everybody has a different perspective on it. But I, on a personal basis, took it as there is something better for me to do in this time. If I'm being laid off, so to speak, or I'm losing my job, or there is a chance that I will lose my job, I am destined to get something better out of it. Because I especially, I can't say you, me or my parents come from a generation where you would get a job and stick to one job till you reach retirement, and you would stick to the same job. But now it's about evolving. It's about doing something better. So if one job ends, I'm 110% sure that there's something better in store. That positive perspective is very important, and that will help you avoid burnout, because you will be ready to say no. But you don't always have to say no. You know your limits. So first of all, establish your boundaries. If you're planning, going back to what we were saying earlier, if you have a to-do list ready and you know what you need to get done in a day, and you get something out of the blue, you will be able to then understand that, can I fit this in? I remember going through an assessment where we did an in-tray exercise. And that was about you're working and a manager comes in, throws something in, somebody else comes in and gives you something else to do. So do you jump at doing what new has come in, or do you plan your time and prioritize it to see, can I fit this in? Can I put it off till tomorrow? Is it really important? So that prioritizing is important. Rather than planning, it's all about prioritizing. So once you have prioritized, then you know whether you can say no or can you do it. But know your boundaries. Don't push your boundaries. If you keep pushing, it will lead to emotional exhaustion, because inside you're frustrated. Inside you're annoyed that the manager is, throwing work at me, or I have to do so many things and I can't finish, etc., etc. So that's creating an emotional exhaustion. So if you know that this is something you cannot fit in, you can probably turn back and work on logic, work on facts. Tell them the facts. Nobody can contest logic and facts. So if you tell them and ask them how important it is, can you fit it into your schedule? Can you not? If you cannot, then say you cannot. I find it very difficult to say no to my boss, but she understands the pressures that we are under, and she's very compassionate towards that. But some people aren't. I can understand that, right? But to avoid burnouts, take regular breaks, prioritize your work, learn to say no, delegate where you can, even at home. You don't have to say yes the moment, the kids are learning from home. The moment they say, Mama, I need this, you leave your work and do that, and hence you are losing your work time. Yeah. Delegate responsibility so everybody starts taking accountability for what they're supposed to do. Other than that, I think mindfulness at work is very important. Taking regular breaks, keeping yourself hydrated, and being mindful. So when you take your break, if you use that time to take a few breaths, just connect with yourself, be aware of your surroundings, that will help you to increase your focus and your energy and come back with more energy to be able to avoid burnouts. Just take on what you can. That is the most important thing. Take on what you can. Don't push your limits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, knowing what you can, what you're okay to do, what you're not okay to do. So kind of having a list of values that you're okay, so once you know, like you said, once you know your boundaries, once you know what you're okay to do, like we all have jobs where if we're lucky, we like 70% of what we do in our job and 30% we compromise on. So as long as you know what is your compromise barrier and how much you're willing to do or not do, you
Kritika, I love both my jobs, right?
Yeah.
But it takes up 110% of my energy. And sometimes I don't realize. Sometimes people around me start indicating and giving me hints because sometimes they're scared of me, so they don't say it outright. So they start indicating that, your behavior is changing, your attitude is changing. I start getting headaches. Listen to your body. Your body will start signaling. So if your mind has taken more than it can take, your body will start responding to it. So listen to your body. If you're getting headaches, if you're tired, if you're facing fatigue, you have to address it before you start getting into panic attacks or burnouts. And these days, corporate wellness has become a big thing. So, some companies have started doing where they just, send a ring a bell or an alarm, and everybody just leaves and takes 5 minutes of a breather or a mindfulness technique, or do a huddle or something that helps them to come back. So companies are now taking initiatives, but how much are we contributing to it as a person? How much do we know ourselves?
Yeah, and I think also it's about speaking up. Like some people, may feel things, but they may not express it. And what happens is that your boss will not know that you're uncomfortable with something till you let them know that you're uncomfortable. So I think it's also recognizing that you're uncomfortable and like letting people know that this is not okay with you. So that kind of sets a boundary for how you...
Open communication is very important. Sometimes we get into a conflicting situation, right? Or a stress because we don't like something that somebody has said at work. That if we don't deal with it, it keeps adding stress, and we develop this resentment against that person or that group of people, and we think that they are against us. So that's where political lobbying and those kind of things, politics at work starts. And politics in corporate organization always affects people. People start reading between the lines. So my advice, and this is purely an advice, that if you don't like something that somebody has said, or you don't like the way that they've spoken to you, talk to them. It works in both, any relationships, whether it's work relationship or home relationships, personal relationships. It's about having that open communication. I would now go up to somebody, whoever I didn't like the way that they spoke to me or said something, and I would say, you said that. Is there something that I have done wrong, or I've stepped out of my place and I've stepped boundaries? What is it? Or it may be nothing. They may be stressed about something else, and it may have come across as if they are taking it out on us. Or it could be, no, you did this, you shouldn't have said that. That was not your place to say. And you just resolve it and learn from that and move on, so that conflicting situation doesn't arise or get aggravated.
Yeah, and I think also you should not take too much to heart. Like, you should always tell yourself that, like, you should know your intentions, because sometimes people are not okay with confronting people in a conflicting situation. You may not be okay to let someone know that you were maybe offended by what they did or said, or maybe you offended someone and they may feel afraid to approach you. So I guess people kind of generally want to avoid confrontation, and maybe because that's, it's awkward and there's so much. Yeah, it's awkward. There may be negativity afterwards and things like that.
We want to make everyone happy. We want to make everyone happy. But trust me, we cannot make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time. There will always be someone who doesn't get along with you so well. But it's okay. We are humans. We are social animals. We can find ways to connect to people. We can find compassion in us to give somebody a benefit of doubt. That being kind aspect is very important.
For sure, yeah. I think we have a question from Fusion Indian. What do we do if people around you do not support you in your decision? How do you deal with that?
Like I said, you will not always find people who support you in your decisions. Now, I'm assuming this is at work, right? So maybe you would like to evaluate the decisions that you are taking. Why are people not supporting? Rather than being judgmental about it and saying, okay, nobody supports me. What is the decision? So if we can get a bit more understanding of what kind of decisions are we talking about here, but any decision or any action that you take that people do not support, there has to be a reason. Maybe it's a time for reflection. Maybe it's a time for critically evaluating yourself and saying, okay, am I actually doing the right thing taking this decision? Just to give you a personal example, I am usually ahead of me. And I'm doing one thing, but I'm thinking of something else that I can do more and more. And I think, okay, now I want to do candles, or I want to do an app, or I want to do that. And when I was talking to this about this with my friend, and he turned around and said to me that, you 3 months ago when you were working on coaching and you were changing things, it affected your behavior. And I got a bit worked up that he's not supporting my decision, and there's nobody else I can talk to, and nobody understands, and I'm being judged. But when you in a quiet moment, you can be honest to yourself and see, okay, whatever I am thinking or doing, rationalize it. Do your brainstorming on paper. Do your brainstorming with people who support you, who know you. You know yourself. So if you work through that, step by step, like a fact-finding exercise, you will know why people are not supporting. There is no way that people will not support something that will be beneficial to you or to them just for the sake of it. There's always a reason behind it. So explore that reason, do some reflection, and maybe find a way that is kind of a middle way or a new perspective. So it's like a journey of exploration. So explore yourself, reflect, and then I am 100% sure you'll come up with a solution which is acceptable to everybody.
And I think also sometimes it may not be acceptable to people. You have to be comfortable with your own decision. And
be comfortable in your own skin.
Sorry?
Be comfortable in your own skin. So if you still feel that this is a good decision, go ahead. Make your own way. And when people start seeing the results, they will be all for it. And make your own decisions, right? We don't have to rely on other people to accept or reject what we are doing. We have to be comfortable in our own mind.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So what would be the 5 tips that you could offer to someone to, balance their work life and to generally feel well and to alleviate stress? What would be 5 top tips that you would
That is a $1 million question. I think 5 is not enough. But if I was, I think I had some points around what I could give as tips, because there's just so many of them that it's difficult to summarize them, right? But first of all, like we said, know your boundaries, know your limits, right? Know yourself. What are you capable of? How many hours of sleep do you need? How many drinks of water do you need in a day to stay hydrated and to stay fresh? When do you need to take break? How much is your concentration span? What are your responsibilities? What are the things that you need to do in a day, right? So planning, prioritizing, knowing your boundaries and setting those boundaries, setting your wake time, sleep time, nap time, everything that you need to do in a day, you need to know yourself. You need to establish your boundaries. If you establish your boundaries, it will be easier to establish boundaries at work and even in personal relationship, even if you're working at home, right? So knowing yourself, knowing your limits and establishing your boundaries. That's my tip number 1. Number 2 is, again, I think I've wrapped up 2 and 3 in 1. So planning, prioritizing, and, delegating so everybody knows what the responsibilities are, especially if you're working at home. My sister once asked me to go and help my niece with her work when I was working from home. So I took my laptop and it was a nightmare. So hats off to all the mothers and parents who are helping, who are working from home and managing their kids' home learning. I think I feel fortunate now that my kids are grown up and I don't have to worry about it. I can totally understand that it is, it's mind-boggling. You do not have the energy to do that. So delegate. Tell the kids. It's like emotional intelligence. Be aware and tell them the consequences of crossing those boundaries. Delegate them. Give them responsibilities. Tell them what they're supposed to do. Okay, so that's that a few tips. And mindfulness at work, like we said. So mindfulness at home, mindfulness at work. Just being mindful of yourself. Taking time to be mindful. Taking time to reflect, connect, and then reframe your thought process. Everything starts with a thought. I cannot stress that enough. Everything starts with a thought. Your feelings, your behavior. If you do not deal with that thought, it's just going to turn into a cycle, that cycle of negative thoughts and emotions that will lead to behaviors of frustration, anger, annoyance, you name it. All negative emotions will come through. And if you don't deal with those emotions, they will lead to stress and burnout. So that is very important. And most of all, being kind and compassionate to yourself. If you keep pushing yourself, and pushing your limits, nobody else cares. You keep taking on work, people will keep giving you work. So be kind to yourself. Know what you can or cannot do. Learn to say no. It's easier for me to say that, but with time, it can come. It's about consistently working on yourself and setting your own limits around it. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, give others benefit of doubt if you get into conflicts or stressful situations, communicate, and be consistent with whatever you do.
Cool. I would also like to add that maybe we should, you also need to have an outlet. So, some way of expressing yourself daily. So it could be like an exercise or just maybe a walk around the park, anything. Like you just need a daily outlet to kind of let go of your feelings, something like yoga or just some kind of workout or, like you said, breathing.
Yes, that all falls under mindfulness as well. But when you are stressed, your cortisols, epinephrines, all your stress hormones are on the high. We drink more coffee, we take more sugar, and it goes even higher. And then we have steep falls. But to bring the cortisol down, it takes a while. So to combat that, you need to increase the amount of serotonin in your body, which is the happy chemical. And exercise and releasing those toxins is a very good way of increasing the serotonin so your cortisol can come down and it can be balanced. Everything in balance. It's all about developing that balance. So you're absolutely right. Mindfulness, breathing, yoga, or workouts. An early workout in the morning can help to kickstart the metabolism, but also to wake you up to whatever you need to get through in the day. And get the most difficult things done out of the way in the morning. So the rest of the day becomes easier to manage.
Yeah, and I think it's simple things like, we may not pay so much attention to how we sleep, what are we eating, what are we consuming, like what are we watching. These things also have an impact on you. So I guess that's why a lot of people I know recommend to not watch anything after, say, a certain time, so that when you go to bed, you have different thoughts as opposed to, some Netflix show that was really gory and that's on your mind. And that's the kind of dream you may have. So I guess there's a lot of things that you can do, but you need to know what works for you, because what may work for me or you may not work for someone else. So you need
Absolutely.
to
The only time I did not sleep in the last month when I had Netflix on at night, when I was watching Netflix before sleeping. Usually I listen to meditation or some theta music or something 528 hertz, or I just reflect. These are your power states, by the way. So just the time before going to sleep is your power state. If you use that, everything that gets processed during the night in your dreams, in your sleep, you wake up with a fresh mind. If you sleep with negative thoughts, you wake up with negative thoughts. If you sleep with positive thoughts, you wake up with positive thoughts, and that makes the day go easier. So yes, meditation or anything, even reflection, even positive self-conversation before sleeping. Just leave everything, prepare yourself for sleep, sleep well, use your power states. That will prepare you for the next day.
Perfect. I think that sounds great. In terms of therapy options, what can you offer to someone who may be in any of these states or struggling to do things at work, maybe not has enough focus or is really burnt out? I mean, how can you help them? How can they reach out to you?
So that they can get in touch. They can follow our page. So my Insta is Ashmir by Sabahat Ahmed. I'm sure they'll be able to get through to that, or we can share the handle in the captions. Other than that, I have a website, so that can also come in. Therapies that we do a combination of therapies. So it's not about, okay, I want an NLP session or I want a hypnosis session. It's about what is the issue that you are aiming to resolve. What is the outcome? So it's very outcome driven. I want to not be stressed at work, for example. Okay, what is causing you stress? So we work our way backwards to put together a kind of a tailored or bespoke set of therapies that can help them. It could be as like anxieties or panic attacks, for example, can take up to 4 sessions of a combination of NLP, hypnotherapy, some life coaching goals, some NNRT aspects. So we bring all of those in to help you reduce those stress. So all of these therapies are very effective. So they come under the complementary alternative medicine, which is CAM therapies, and the mindfulness, neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, family constellations, negative neuropathway reversal therapies. So there are so many new therapies that are coming up, but these are proven to be very, very effective in managing stress, generally stress, whether it's workplace, whether it's home, where anything. It's about managing the negative emotions, removing the limiting beliefs such as I'm not good enough, I do everything wrong. We get into that mode. So removing those so you can be empowered enough to take your life forward, to live a more purposeful, a more meaningful life for yourself, achieve your work, life, health goals. So these therapies I would highly recommend, not just because I'm doing it, but I'm doing them because they're very effective.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's it for today. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you for joining, for taking the time, and for your beautiful comments. We will have another one. Yeah, we will have another session next week. So do join us at the same time. We look forward to seeing you live again, and take care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.